You happy? That's good to know because everyone seems so miserable nowadays. So angry, so consumed with negativity. I know people who don't even want to be happy. They give the impression that they like being miserable. And since misery loves company, they seek to make others miserable as well. Seeing someone else happy drives them crazy. Unhappiness makes them happy. Americans assume that happiness is practically an entitlement. We have a right to be happy. The pursuit of happiness is in our founding document. It is a self-evident truth. Now, I realize happiness is not a simple question. For a drowning person, a gulp of air is happiness. For a person dying of thirst, a gulp of water is happiness. I remember when I had a kidney stone several years ago. One shot of Demerol directly in my vein, that was happy. To this day, I just can't find the words to adequately describe the demonstrable delight of Demerol. Shakespeare wrote, "There was never yet a philosopher who could endure the toothache." For even the deepest thinker, happiness consists of no longer suffering the pain of a toothache. But then what? Once our thirst is slaked, once the kidney stone has passed, once the tooth has been extracted, where then do we find happiness? German writer Heinrich Heine wrote this: "My wants are modest. A hut, a thatched roof, a good bed, good food, milk and butter, all very fresh, flowers at my window, a few beautiful trees at the door. And if the good Lord wants to make my happiness complete, He will give me the pleasure of seeing some 6 or 7 of my enemies strung up on those trees. With all my heart I shall forgive them before their death all the evil that they have committed against me while I was alive. Yes, one should always forgive their enemies, but not until they're hanged." The thing about happiness is that if it is based on the acquisition of things, it constitutes a fleeting mirage, an unattainable pursuit. So you got the job you wanted. Your problems have only just begun. So you got the apartment you sought. The payments extend for 30 years. So you got the salary you thought would be sufficient within a year. It's not enough. Spend your whole life studying, and you never know enough. You may dedicate your entire life to the goal, and chances are you will fall short. And falling short is what happened to the Jews more often than not. Our most sacred text, the Torah, is centered around one massive, overarching goal: to get to the promised land. There is a goal. It's right over the horizon. Go for it. Seize the day. Fulfill your destiny. Therefore, what should have happened in the Torah is what we think is going to happen in this week's Torah portion, Bamidbar, that launches the book of Numbers. All the necessary preparations have been made. The descendants of Jacob endured slavery and oppression, but now finally they were on their way home. They had received the Torah. All systems were go. They would soon arrive. But what actually happens is that the Torah ends some 39 years later with the Israelites never having arrived. From the end of the book of Genesis, when Jacob leaves the land of Israel for Egypt for the last time, until the very close of the Torah, the last verse of the last chapter of the last book of the Torah, a period of at least 400 years. It was all dedicated to returning to Israel. But they never arrive. Now think of that. The Torah was supposed to be a story of achieving the goal. That was the point, the goal, to reach the promised land. We expect the children of Jacob to come home. What kind of religion is this Judaism? How can you have a plot where the heroes don't make it home in the end? There is no place like home. Dorothy returns to Kansas. Odysseus returns to Ithaca. Gulliver finds his way back to England. Alice wakes up from Wonderland with her head intact. Even Peter Rabbit makes it home. That's how all good stories end. Don Quixote finishes the journey at the end, and he is at peace with himself and with the world. Frodo and Sam go to Mordor, but prevail and return to the Shire. So it's really interesting that more than 3.5 books of the 5 books of Moses unfold Bamidbar, in the wilderness. And in so many instances, it's an unhappy journey, filled with hardship, filled with pain and disappointment and loss. And the Torah closes with the Israelites still on the other side, their singular aspiration to return home never accomplished. Judaism teaches us that God placed us in a world of unending challenges. Over and over again, our tradition reminded us that for one reason or another, for better or for worse, God created the world imperfect, a world that needs improvement. Our task is to improve ourselves, but not only ourselves. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? But if I am only for myself, what am I? Happiness is never focused entirely on the self. Its aim is always outside the self, someone else. The happy soul must free itself from itself. The way to improve is to contend. If we define happiness as the absence of struggle, we will never be happy. Judaism teaches that there is no such thing as a life without struggle. It is an illusion, snake oil. And if we are honest with ourselves, we don't really want a world without struggle. Life would be boring. Adversity brings out the best in us. Happiness cannot mean attainment. We are bound to fall short. We always end our journey on this side of the river, the promised land, glimpsed only in the distant horizon. Part of our lives are like discordant chords. There's not always resolution. The struggle, not the fulfillment, defines us. Our goal is to live in creative tension, our reach constantly exceeding our grasp. Movement, not rest, is the goal of life. Lack of movement is death. We have a term for it. Rest in peace. Motion is the propellant of life. When we speak of happiness, we mean a deep-seated contentment, a sense of satisfaction and gratitude in living purposeful and meaningful lives. We pay a huge price if we assume that the purpose of life is limited only to the improvement of the self. Our form may prosper, but our soul will wither. The body may be happy, but the spirit will be miserable. We will end up constantly asking ourselves, is that all there is to life? The American founding fathers spoke of the pursuit of happiness. The pursuit, more than the overtaking, the anticipation, more than the realization, give excitement and meaning. Anyone who sets goals understands what our ancestors understood. Goals are often unrealized. And even if they are realized, there is a cost. We fail time after time. The road to the promised land lies through the desert and is paved with frustrations and disappointments. It is pursuing the goals more than actually realizing them that is so often our lot in life. Did the Israelites have no purpose for living once they were told that they would never reach the promised land and they will end their days in the desert? That's it? You won't reach the promised land, so you may as well just kick it in now? It's all a failure, one huge disappointment. What's the point of it all? The wilderness experience taught the fundamental lesson of life. Life is imperfect, and it is rife with disappointments. There is no state of absolute happiness. This happiness industry that has exploded in America, it's a sham. Snake oil. We yearn for Shangri-La, but what we get is the desert. We embark towards El Dorado, but what we receive is reality. We dream of Wonderland, but what we experience is danger. It's said that English writer Samuel Butler conceived even of heaven as slightly frustrating. What a great thought. Even heaven has its niggling frustrations. No one can endure total contentment. Even Adam and Eve were restless in paradise. If we were happy all the time, we'd be miserable. Our lives are an end in itself, not a means to a goal. The value is in having lived and experienced the journey. And if the way was interesting, exciting, and complete, then we shall look back, even at the hardships of life, and recall them with special delight because of the dangers that we have surmounted. Robert Louis Stevenson wrote, "It is true that we shall never reach the goal. It is even more probable that there is no such thing. And if we lived for centuries and we were endowed with the powers of a God, we should find ourselves not much nearer what we wanted in the end. O toiling hands of mortals, free feet traveling ye know not whither. Soon, it seems to you, you must come forth on some conspicuous hilltop and but a little way further against the setting sun descry the spires of El Dorado. Little do you know your own blessedness, for to travel hopefully is a better thing than to arrive, and a true success is to labor." A congregant once said to me, "Happiness is when the sermon is over." It's over. Be happy.